everybody, how are you doing? In this Webeo, I've laid out a high-speed railway line connecting the cities of Kuala Lumpur and Singapore. Despite the fact that the two cities are two of the biggest global powerhouses in the world, they're not connected together by high-speed rail. From city center to city center, the quickest way to travel between the two cities is via flight, which still takes nearly 3 hours, including going to the airport and coming from the airport. All the other options take at least 5 hours, including driving and taking the regional trains. This line aims at reducing the travel times between the two central business districts to only 1 hour and 30 minutes on trains traveling up to 350 kilometers per hour. The length of this line is 387 kilometers. Now there are going to be two categories of trains on this line. There are going to be the ultra high speed trains, which only stop at the stations marked in purple, which are Kuala Lumpur and Central, which are both big business districts in the central part of Kuala Lumpur. And yes, I spelled Central right. Just please leave me alone, that's how they spell it. And also there's Singapore City Hall, which all the trains will stop at. But I also have another philosophy, that regional communities are as important in being served by the high-speed railway line. So I've introduced regional high-speed trains here. They will be stopping at Putrajaya, Airport Junction, Seremban, Malacca, Ayer Hitam, Kulai, Johor Bahru, and then in Singapore, Sengkang, and then finally Singapore City Hall. They stop at all the stations. This will spur development in some of these other areas and also allow satellite cities to grow outside the increasingly overcrowded central business districts. Another thing I'm planning to do with this line is to integrate the Kuala Lumpur Airport Express line into the high-speed railway line via the regional high-speed trains, because the right of way from Kuala Lumpur to Airport Junction actually uses what is currently the KLIA express trains, which travel at a speed of up to 100 kilometers per hour. So this first section here will have the high-speed trains running at speeds of up to 250 kilometers per hour, and also the airport trains will be integrated into that, so they will reach the city center much faster. After Airport Junction, the speed will increase to 300 kilometers per hour to Seremban. Seremban is the 8th largest city in Malaysia rather. It has a population of 560,000 people, so this could be a big boon in making this a possible satellite city to Kuala Lumpur. After Seremban, the line speed increases to 350 kilometers per hour and it passes through Malacca, which is the 10th largest city in Malaysia with a population of 478,000 people. This place does not have any railway service whatsoever, so providing high-speed rail would be a big boon to this tourist and industrial powerhouse. After Malacca, the line continues at 350 kilometers per hour and it eventually rejoins the AH2 highway and it roughly parallels that the rest of the way. So this is all 350 kilometers per hour past Ayer Hitam, and after Kulai the speed drops to 250 kilometers per hour because there's some tighter bends here. But then after Johor Bahru, the line increases to a speed of 300 kilometers per hour before entering the final 22 kilometer long tunnel into Singapore. So you may be wondering, what are all these different colors here? Well, I'm going to put that all on a key here and I'm going to explain them really quickly. So most of this line is actually green or magenta, which is really atypical of my normal proposals, and the reason because of that is due to the fact that much of this is actually on brand new alignment. Green means new at ground alignment and magenta is viaducts, and I have quite a few viaducts here too because much of this landscape is small ripples in the land and it also has a lot of farming, so trying to raise embankments over multiple close roads would be much more expensive than just building a longer viaduct. This is why places, for example China, where you see a lot of new lines being built, are mostly built on viaducts. There is also dark blue. Dark blue are tunnels. There is a 10-kilometer long tunnel just southeast of Airport Junction, and a 6-kilometer long tunnel through Malacca going under the city. That is an addition to the 22-kilometer long tunnel in Singapore. Another color is light pink. Light pink is existing lines, it will run on them, but it will be upgraded to 4 tracks. So there are currently 2 tracks, they'll be upgraded to 4 tracks. So this will still allow the goods trains to run normally and also the local trains. But the high-speed trains will run uninterrupted by the stopping trains. Finally, the other 2 colors are this blue right here, that's no changes to be made. So this is exactly how this is, that's how it's going to be. No changes besides probably increasing the voltage and whatnot, but no physical changes. And finally, there's a small sliver of purple here. That's just lower speed trains, so up to 100 kilometers per hour running on existing lines. So blue is existing lines upgraded to high speed rail, and purple is existing lines not upgraded to high speed rail. And as I said before, the purple stations all trains stop at, and the orange stations only the regional high speed trains stop at. So without further ado, let's zoom in to Kuala Lumpur railway station. So here we are at Kuala Lumpur railway station. This is the closest railway station to the central business district of Kuala Lumpur, which is located right here. This is where all the tall buildings are. So I plan the trains to be on the eastern 2 platforms. So these are the platforms rather that are currently being used by the Airport Express. Now the high-speed trains will start from Kuala Lumpur at a slow speed, and they will stop at the next station, Central. This is also an ultra high-speed stop because Central is emerging as a new business district. Think of Kuala Lumpur as the old business district and Central Station as a new business district. In fact, this district is so successful that Central is the busiest station in all of Malaysia. So all trains, whether regional or ultra, will stop here. After Central, the trains will continue south and they will go on the existing Airport Express lines, now at a speed of 100 kilometers per hour. But when this purple turns to blue, we know blue means high speed. They will be increasing to a speed of 250 kilometers per hour. After that, just past the MEX toll road, they will go into a 3-kilometer long tunnel. This is because trying to curve straighten this entire section here would be really destructive, not to mention that there's a big hill here, so it's just natural to build this tunnel underneath. And this tunnel re-emerges right here just south of Bandar Tasek, which is another station on the main line, and it continues further south. And this is on the Airport Express lines. There's some small curve straightening here, but nothing much. It's running mostly on the existing alignment at a speed of 250 kilometers per hour. Over this highway here, there'll be a small viaduct to allow for curve straightening and again increasing the speed. And this right here is where the regular main line separates from the KLIA Express line. So as I said before, the KLIA Express will be replaced by regional high-speed trains, and they will all operate at a speed of up to 250 kilometers per hour. So this is all on the existing alignment using high-speed tilting electric trains. The next station, which is for regional trains only, is Putrajaya. The reason I'm having a stop at Putrajaya is because this is emerging as a big satellite city of Kuala Lumpur. If you see all this around here, look at all this new development here. This station has the potential to be something big. It could be even the next Central Station, in that it could be a big business district and concentrating a big economic activity outside the main Kuala Lumpur Central Business District. Ultra high-speed trains will pass through here without stopping. After Putrajaya, the line continues on the existing airport KLIA Express tracks, and it goes at its speed of 250 kilometers per hour. The reason I'm keeping it at 250 is because, as I said before, the existing trains already operate at a speed of 100 miles per hour, which is 160 kilometers per hour. These are already the fastest trains in Malaysia, and these tracks do have the capability to support up to 250 kilometers per hour without any significant curve straightening. And honestly, when you're this close to the city, a small change in speed won't change that much in terms of time, but the costs will be drastically reduced. So the economies of using such a system to its advantage are actually beneficial. So this is Airport Junction. This is where all the regional high-speed trains and the airport link trains will stop. The reason I'm having a stop here is A, this could be a big airport business complex in the near future, but more importantly, trains coming from the airport, which is right here, people from there can connect at the station and go to southeastern Malaysia without having to go into the city center. So it's almost like a Y interchange. But as I was saying, this was a nice line, but the airport line only stops at the airport. So from here, this is where a majority of the line will be on its own new alignment. So this right here is 2 tracks brand new alignment, a small bridge over the AH2 highway, and this line will actually parallel the AH2 highway for quite a bit. It then enters a 10-kilometer long tunnel. I know it's long, and I know it may seem like why am I starting it here, but there are actually pretty big ridges here, so I don't want to disturb that. So it may actually be more cost effective and obviously more human effective based on where these people live to just build a tunnel underneath all of this. And this tunnel rejoins the existing north-south main line. Here the main line will be upgraded to 4 tracks. Remember, pink is 2 tracks existing. There will be 2 more tracks created. Those 2 will be for the high-speed trains. There will be some small curve straightening here, but now this will be operating at a speed of 300 kilometers per hour, as the curves are not as windy as before. Again, here there's a small new alignment here over the H2, but this right here will actually be all trains operating because there's nothing that operates here, and this right here is not that much of a gradient. So all 4 tracks will go on this new segment here. After that, it comes back to the existing line for a little bit, and then a 1 kilometer long tunnel where all trains will operate through. And then Seremban is the next station. This is a regional stop. The station already has 4 tracks, so efficiently the ultra high speed trains will use the 2 center tracks going through. Now there may be some station modifications to allow the trains to run safely at 300 kilometers per hour, but the 2 outer tracks will be used for the regional high speed trains and all other trains stopping here. The local trains that are already existent on this line will remain. After Seremban, the line continues on the existing segment for around 1 kilometer before it traverses into a 6 kilometer long tunnel. Now this is another long tunnel because it's under a lot of residential development and it's also relatively hilly here. So the gradients of building a straight line would actually be relatively high compared to just building a tunnel. And during this tunnel, this is where the line increases to a speed of 350 kilometers per hour. This is the top speed of the line. So I'm not going to go too much in detail now. So this is just some new alignment. The magenta is viaducts. This blue here is a 0.8 kilometer long tunnel because there's some major ridges here and it was not small enough to just build a viaduct over all of them. So I decided to build a tunnel. After that, it just continues through small tunnels, small viaducts over roads, and this time I decided to show viaducts over all the roads. It just makes it much more easy to understand. There's some other small viaducts over this river here near Ligi and another small one here over a road. After that, it continues, just basically new alignment and viaduct. I'm just going to go through slowly and depict where exactly the line goes. This right here isn't that hilly, but once we get here, you may be wondering, why is the entire thing elevated? This is because it's actually much more hilly here. If I zoom in like this, you can see that there are quite a few bumps here, and trying to build an embankment over all of this and the roads would actually be more expensive than just building a straight up viaduct or all of that. So this is why this segment and many other segments along this line will be built on the viaduct. So after that, there's a small grade segment, a small tunnel here because there's a big hill here that couldn't be avoided, and I was trying to minimize the cost by bypassing all the development. So I had to go through this to maintain a speed of 350 kilometers per hour. After that, there's some other small viaducts and actually a big viaduct here. This goes over the same ridge landscape that was there before, and this goes all the way to near Malacca. Now near Malacca, it's a mix of viaducts and regular embankments. The reason is because where the viaducts are, it's mostly where there are many roads in a small proximity, so building embankments there wouldn't be as economical. But when there are not that many roads, it's a relatively flat landscape, so I decided to just build the embankment. It would be actually more economical that way. So we have to see what is the landscape and what type of construction is required. That's a big part of this project. So after that, there's a small viaduct here. This may actually destroy a little bit of development, but it's nothing compared to some other proposals I've seen on the corridor between Kuala Lumpur and Singapore. After that, the line continues another small viaduct and into a 6-kilometer long tunnel into Malacca. Malacca station will be underground with 4 tracks. 2 tracks will be serving the regional high-speed trains, and the 2 other tracks will be the express through tracks. Now, Malacca is an important station. The city does not have any railway service whatsoever, and it is the 10th largest city in Malaysia with a population of 483,000 people. That's nearly 500,000 people without any railway service, and they deserve high-speed rail. Malacca is a big tourist destination. There is the Janker Street night market and many mega malls in this area. A big business district is located right here along the Jalan Hang Tuan Road, in addition to the beach here, and the beach is only 2 kilometers away from the station. So some efficient bus rapid transit system could connect the beach tourist destination here with the business district around where I'm planning the Malacca station to be. The district around Malacca station will also have a lot of restaurants. It actually does have a lot of restaurants. So a lot of people will be naturally drawn to this region, and the station will only help to benefit it more. After Malacca, the 4 tracks will rejoin into 2 tracks underground, and these are all high-speed tracks. The regional, the local trains will go on the other tracks that are further to the northeast of the A2H2 highway. So after that, line continues. There's a big viaduct here because there are a lot of roads to cross, and then it's just a mix of tunnels under ridges, straight segments or embankments under flat areas where there are not that many roads, and viaducts or places where there are roads and or a lot of hills. So right here, this is really straight, very flat, not many roads, just make it on ground. Here there's a road in close proximity to a river, so I decided to make a viaduct over all of that. So it's just the same basic principle throughout. It's almost like an algorithm. You have to understand how the local landscape works and integrate that into a system that is flexible in managing with all those landscapes. So here there's a lot of roads in close proximity, so I just made a viaduct over all of them. This line is still at a full speed of 350 kilometers per hour. So it continues, it goes through a tunnel here, and now this is pretty interesting. There's a semi-ridge here, so there are 2 tunnels each of around 1 kilometer long, but this was so I made the line go into a valley, because there are hills here and there's a valley here. Actually the valley continues to the coast, but I wanted to keep this a more direct route, and there's not as much development near the coast as there was back in Malacca. So I decided to keep it as interior as possible, but near the mountains. So it continues near the mountains. And some small viaducts here, but this is mostly flat because there's not much farming. The farming is further to the southwest. Another viaduct here because this seems to be more of a ridgy area. As you can see, some small ridges, so I had to make a viaduct there. And then just a straight segment, some viaducts over farms, and that eventually rejoins the AH2 highway, and it'll actually parallel that for the most of the way. Now I apologize that there's quite a bit of clouds here, but this was actually the newest satellite picture of this region, and there was no other option besides making it back to like 2005, and Malaysia has changed drastically since 2005, so this was all I could do. I hope the clouds don't disturb you. But the next station is Ayer Hitam. Ayer Hitam is more like serves the local region rather than serves the local immediate community. Now Ayer Hitam itself has the potential to be a big business and industrial place if this line is constructed. It is located at the interchange of 2 major roads including the AH2 highway. It's approximately halfway between Kuala Lumpur and Singapore, and it's also approximately halfway between Kluang with a population of 160,000 and Batu Pahat with a population of 140,000. So more than 300,000 people live within a 20-kilometer driving distance of the station. And obviously bus systems could help this more, but as of now the focus of this is on the high-speed line itself. So after Ayer Hitam, the line continues on just to the southeast of the AH2 highway, and it actually deviates that for a little bit because there was some free space here. So it continues. So there's some viaduct here because there are a lot of roads, so building an embankment wouldn't be as efficient. So it's just basically the same principle. Here it's approximately 1 kilometer southwest of the AH2 highway, and it continues in that same general location with respect to the highway for quite a bit, about 20 kilometers. But then, just past Felda Bukit Batu, it crosses the highway and goes to the east. This is because it rejoins the existing local train line. Now this is a line I said it takes 5 hours between Kuala Lumpur and Singapore. All those trains will remain, the high-speed trains will supplement them. And the next station is Kulai. Kulai is emerging to be a very big exurb of like the inner Malaysia Singapore area. Johor Bahru is like the big one, that's the third largest population center of all of Kuala Lumpur, and it's emerging as like the main satellite city of Singapore. Kulai is also a big one. I believe it's the 15th largest city in Kuala Lumpur with a population of 380,000, and it is growing rapidly, as you can see here and here. So this again, big potential to be a big business district outside the main course and integrating this entire region into one economic zone. So after that, it continues on the existing line. Now this is at 250 kilometers per hour because the curves are a little more stringent, but at the same time 250 is still relatively fast and it wouldn't necessitate trying to build a tunnel through everything. So that's why the speed is 250. Now right here it deviates a little bit because the speed increases back to 300. The reason I decided not to curve straighten all of this is because this would be hellacious trying to do that. So instead I just cut through all of that and made a 2 kilometer long tunnel where trains go back to a speed of 300 kilometers per hour. And then it continues, it rejoins the main line, and actually this line becomes a freight line here because the passenger trains going to Singapore that are existent actually go through south of Johor Bahru and into Singapore itself. Now this line, let me zoom out a little before I actually do it. I've actually made it go to the east, and the reason is twofold. One, it would not add that much time or distance considering this is actually closer to Singapore City Hall than this right here. Not to mention that there's a big forest here, so trying to tunnel under all of that would be much more expensive than just starting here. So the next station is Johor Bahru, and this is on, actually this is 1 track and this will have to be upgraded to 3 tracks. Johor Bahru, as I said, is a main satellite city of Singapore and it has a population of nearly 800,000. So after Johor Bahru, the line continues on the 1 track segment, which is to be upgraded to 3 tracks, and this is at a speed of 300 kilometers per hour. It continues until this curve here where there's a small tunnel, and this is where the speed decreases to 250 kilometers per hour and it enters the tunnel, and the tunnel goes under the Johor Strait. And welcome to Singapore, ladies and gentlemen, just like that. Now speaking of that, there will have to be some ticketing facilities in the stations, but I don't imagine them being as bad as airports, probably like the Eurostar in Europe at worst, if not better. So the next station is Sengkang. Sengkang is an important station. This is a big residential district in the northeast of Singapore. So a lot of people living here may actually go to like Malaysia occasionally. I don't see many people going between Sengkang and the downtown Singapore using the high-speed trains, but all the regional trains will stop here because this is where all the northeast light rail lines go through. There are a lot of light rail lines that go through here, and this connects with the purple northeast MRT line. So it's colored purple, it's called the northeast line. So this is basically the second last station of that. The last station is Punggol, but I decided to make it at Sengkang because it's more centrally located. So after Sengkang, the line continues under Singapore, roughly in this position right here. It's relatively deep. This will be constructed using tunnel boring machines. I gave up trying to build a segment on ground or on the highway because there's very little space. Singapore is becoming extremely dense, and trying to build it on ground or next to the side of the highway, as I did in like AH2 in Malaysia, would not be possible here. So similar to the Kowloon rail link that is being constructed in Hong Kong, this is a very similar situation. So this will be underground, going under the city, direct to the city center. And this station is Singapore City Hall. It is the third busiest MRT station, and it's served by both the Green Line and the Red Line, which are the North-South Line and the East-West Line respectively. And this is Singapore. This is the main business district right here. Lots of businesses right here, lots of MRT lines converging here, many of the high rises here. Singapore is obviously going to be an express ultra high speed stop. Because this is the end of the line, Singapore is a major city, and it is a nice finale to what was a big adventure through Malaysia and Singapore. So let's zoom out and see from where we have come. So there you have it, folks. I've drawn the route between Kuala Lumpur and Singapore of a high-speed railway line connecting the two cities in only 1 hour and 30 minutes. A mixture of ultra high speed and regional high speed will both ensure minimal travel times and maximum reach of this line, serving big cities and small communities alike, integrating them into one efficient economic zone. I thank you for watching this Webeo. It has been a pleasure in drawing this and exploring Malaysia. I hope I see you guys very soon. Thank you so much, and goodbye.